Hey, what's up, everybody? BDF 44 coming at you with another video. All right, starting a new therapy session. Good morning. Good morning. I hope everybody is starting their week off right. It is a holiday season weekend. If you celebrate Christmas, if you celebrate Hanukkah, if you celebrate Kwanzaa, it's a big time of year for everybody, all of us. So I definitely want everybody to have a great start to their holiday week. And I don't know, is it a week this week? Is it starting out? Who knows? Probably the next 10, 12 days. But let's get the 12 days of Christmas and Hanukkah and Kwanzaa, all that stuff. Should be time to start singing songs. So I'm very, very happy about that every year. Grew up having great Christmases and stuff like that. Mom did a whole lot every year to make sure them holidays were big. So yeah, plenty of good memories for that. Hopefully you guys, you're able to do the same thing for you guys and your families. And yeah, I guess it's a good way to start the conversation. And so I was looking on Instagram, as I always do. It prompts me to speak and all this. And look, as I said, as I saw one of the comments say in the post that I'm about to refer to, I am still not quite as open-minded as I need to be. I'm still judgmental. I mean, for me being somebody who wants to get everybody to open their mind, we have to normalize the process of getting there. Meaning, there's going to be some days where we get set back. It was something that I read in regards to the black point of view, in regards to awakening to the new news of us being whoever, with the big conversation that's been going on. Y'all gonna have to forgive us, because we still have to learn how to be that. Once we learn who we are, once we learn the information, then we have to unlearn the identity of not knowing who we are. And that's going to take some setting back at times. It's going to take some people who fall through the cracks, who would just go do things silly and all that, because we're in a position of transition in regards to our understanding of who we are. No different than anybody else. I think everybody, all groups of life are still growing in the world around us, et cetera, et cetera. So to be truly defined is something I think that is ever evolving. But with that being said, I'm not there when it comes to seeing children dress up like adults in sexy clothing. I ain't there yet. I'm judgmental when it comes to that. I don't have the balance of mind to be able to say that's going to work out in some cases. Even though when you copy and paste most things, there are ways to see fruit in every thing, maybe, depending. I don't know. My understanding allows for an open-minded way. In other words, I can see a situation where you can do that and have kids dressed in some ways that are not so messed up, and still have the environment be safe for them, still have the kids understand how to respect themselves, still have the kids have their innocence intact. I'd imagine some world, in some way, there is a scenario where that is still intact somehow. But what I'm telling you is, I am not open-minded enough to be able to walk up to this camera and say that I see that in any way, shape, or form, even though such things can be fathomable in other aspects of life. You can see where not everybody who takes a drug is going to end up a junkie, that kind of thing. It's like there are ways for the one exception to the rule to slip through the cracks and make it so that we see a different point of view, and then we have a better, good energy, overall understanding of the possibility of things in that regard. All right, so that's what I'm saying. But when it comes to this, I ain't there yet. I know that formula works in just about every possibility in every way, but there are certain things that my agreements won't allow me to walk into that door at all. And when it comes to this conversation with children, nah. The post that I saw was, Sean Combs' two daughters, his twins, and their birthday party. And they were in some kind of skimpy two-piece swimsuit. I don't know. And then Game, his young daughter, who's younger than them, was in the middle of them two with their skimpy outfits, with her own kind of outfit that wasn't as skimpy, but still had a little bit too much going on there for me to be comfortable seeing a child dressed that way, knowing that she's not even 13 yet. And then I looked at the post, and it was a post. I think it was I don't know who actually posted. I think it was probably Game, and he was essentially saying, before the internet go interneting, I let my baby, dress up in makeup and all this for the Combs daughter's 16th birthday party. And her mother and I both agreed to allow her to do this in this way before y'all start going. And my thing is, with love, with love in my heart, I say, brother, that don't make me feel no better. That don't make me feel no better, fam. Just because parents get it wrong in regards to allowing their kids to exploit themselves for reasons that are really about the culture of what the parents are about, which is entertainment above all else. When you start letting your kids get into that face and that space, and I know behind that scene and that curtain, they got some weird ways when it comes to kids, man. We're not going to pretend that's not a big part of what it is that's going on there. We know it is. Let's not act like we don't know that this is a big time sicko ring when it comes to this Hollywood thing, bro. That is not hearsay. Them people, they have a lot of wicked ways when it comes to children. And I'd have to assume that a lot of the people who benefit the most from what's going on behind the curtain have at least some inclination that this has happened, or dare I say, are masterminding it themselves to keep it going, to keep the people behind the curtain as happy as they need to be. I'm watching too much of this stuff around the world where people are in very, very desperate or positions to benefit from the exploitation of children, and they're allowing it to happen. And I'm watching it. I'm watching y'all. It's not a loud conversation, but it's happening. Y'all you're feeding your children to the sickos in suggestive ways. You're not fully putting your kids out there for the porno. You're not fully putting your kids out there to look like they're doing too much, but you're suggesting little Balenciaga-like stuff, and you're allowing your kids to be involved in this little Balenciaga type, these ads. And I'm watching y'all do this, and I know that it ain't right, and I know the people behind the scenes who are allowing your kids to do this and who are pushing your kids to do this want much more sinister stuff for them than what it is that you're trying to benefit from. And I'm sure you're probably watching to make sure they don't go too far, but the fact that you're allowing them to be used suggestively shows me that you're allowing this stuff to keep going. And I'm telling you, that is the wrong way to go. It's the wrong way to go. When you start thinking about what type of stuff brings about the worst stuff to the earth, I would imagine it starts somewhere when you mess with innocence. When you play around with innocence to exploit innocence, how in whatever form it is, in my watching of things, you get real bad consequences coming your way for doing that. They say it in all the books. You don't play with the kids, you don't play with the innocent. And people are not following what works in regards to honoring that truth. We're going around leaving kids vulnerable for the exploitation and the betterment of grown people. And I'm telling you, the fact that we be having not wanting to have these conversations about sickos, and I'm gonna call them sickos just for the sake of this conversation, but we're talking about people who are really ill. You know what I mean? Who are attracted to children, who want to do things with children they're supposed to be doing with grown people. There is a market to those people. Right there in plain sight. We see it on our TV shows, we see it in our commercials, we see it in our magazines, we see it in our publications. They are actively marketing to them. They know it's a lot of money. It's billions of dollars in that market, and they want it. No different than the black market, LGBTQ community, Spanish community, Asian community. They look at the pedo community the same way, and they peddle to them. And we need to start having that conversation and holding them accountable for being greedy and wanting that money. Okay? Because if you're not going to come out and try to fix that problem that we know is happening in the dark, that we know a lot of people are real sick and they hurting their kids, they hurting other people's kids, they've been hurt, and they're going to keep it going because the conversation that I'm having right now ain't being had, but that marketing ploy and them marketing dollars is being poured into those people. And that's exactly what the hell this is. I know what I'm looking at. And a lot of the people who were back there marketing, they're secretly sickos. So, of course, they're going to see the fruit in marketing to that community. They're going to know how to market to that community. They're going to know how to do it without having people like myself ask questions. Except for that doesn't work when you're dealing with my brain. That never works when you're dealing with my brain because I'm looking for that. And I've been seeing it for a long time. R. Kelly, that entire thing was that. They let that man stay out there his entire career. They knew he was sick. They was funneling him toward those children. This man was hanging outside of high schools when he was 27 years old, waiting for 15-year-olds to come out of high school. And the label knew about this. They knew where he was at all times because he was on their schedule. Who's going to hold him accountable for this? They enabled this man. Half of the people he knew, they allowed him to make time to be around these people. He was one of the biggest stars in the world. His schedule's set for months at a time. He can't make time if they don't allow it. He can't make time if some schedule maker doesn't have a log of where he's at. Because in order for him to be where he needs to be 2 weeks from now, they need to know where he's at right now. See, these are the type of things they don't want us to know. But I grew up in Hollywood, friend. I grew up in the heart of it. You can't run that past everybody. And so when I watch y'all for 20 years enable this man to be a sicko, and then when y'all was ready to throw him in a cage, y'all had a whole plan for giving him 2 seasons of a show to vilify what it is that you enabled for 25 years or 20 years. I'm not sitting here confused by what I'm looking at. As I said, they've been marketed to these people for a long time. They've been marketed to people who hate those people for a long time. It's a funny cycle. But they don't want to have the conversation that hits the nail on the coffin because they don't want to heal those people of their sickness. They don't want to save these kids because they don't want to dissipate that market. Like I said, you're talking to somebody who understands, overstands, and fully knows what the hell to do if I were in their position. I just would never be that way. Because I have God. I see the angle that tells me not to do that. That's the part that they're missing. You don't do that, fam. But there's something divine about not doing that. You don't take people who have not cultivated themselves alive, who have their energy and their emotions completely out of whack, who haven't developed their heads just yet, and you're sending them out there to do things for grown-ups that are going to affect their minds and turn them into grown-ups that want the same stuff. This is wrong. And people are doing this suggestively while acting like they condemn it. So in acting like they condemn it, do you know what that does? That keeps sickos in the shadows. Those who need to hurry up and get some help before they hurt somebody else, they're afraid to say anything. There's no help for them because of the enabling that goes on behind the curtains with these agreements. Oh, we can't have that conversation about how we can get these people to come out and say, yo, I'm a sicko. I want to stop doing what I'm doing. Nah, we're going to continue to give them stuff in the commercials that only they can see that's going to make them feel even crazier. And they pretend like we ain't with it. And you see little, like I said, Balenciaga ads pop up. You start seeing celebrities and their kids dressing in skimpy clothing. The celebrities are subordinates. They're going to do whatever those behind the curtain want them to do. It's what they've proven the whole time. Even if their own morals are on the line, they ain't going to do it. So when it comes down to you exploiting your child, of course you're going to exploit your child. It's part of the contract. Hell, you didn't even have the child unless we wanted you to, because like I said, your schedule's what, 6 months ahead of time? So if you're going to have a baby, you got to be away from us for 9 months. That means we got to be able to carve that time out. So you ain't about to have no baby unless it's part of the whole mix. Again, I'm from Hollywood. I know how they work. They got think tanks that think up your life if you're a celebrity. I know this. I don't think it. I've been told. It's a fact. They have like 8 people telling you who you need to date, when you're going to have your baby, and when you're going to go on tour after your baby. Yes, I know this. Stop believing that a lot of this stuff is happenstance. This is why it's important to talk in regards to Dwayne Wade and his child, his daughter, of whom they identify as a daughter. This is important because he's a big part of this. He's doing the same thing. And I already said it. I don't have no problem with Zaya Wade in regards to how that lady wants to be. But when it comes down to her age and her pushing what it is that she wants to do pre-18 years old for others to influence, when we know this is a celebrity and she's going to be seen by millions just off the strength of who her pops is, then you have to understand that this is suggestive in nature. And if we're going to suggest this, why can't we suggest the other side of it? If we're going to suggest that Zaya Wade be able to be empowered fully sexually, which is absolutely asinine, then we need to find a way to heal the world of the sickos who would target Zaya Wade. Can we get to a place where we can also have the conversation to say, okay, this child wants to act like a grown-up, but there are grown-ups out there who deliberately are looking for that child to act that way so they can exploit them, take advantage of them, ultimately take something from them. Traumatize them with their selfishness and their evil, and ultimately the hate that they had passed to them in certain situations. This needs to be a normal conversation. It ain't taboo. It ain't, oh my God, we can't talk about this. It ain't, oh my God, cut all their heads off, because that's going to keep them in the shadows, being marketed to by these evil demons that want to keep them activated. We will not be afraid to have real conversations. I was a child who was left vulnerable. I'm not afraid to have this conversation. I was left alone with a sicko. I dealt with her for a whole month. Luckily enough, she was a her, so it didn't just mess with my mind and my sexuality, but it was a her. And she was sick. And so I speak on that. Because the stuff that I saw, stuff that I dealt with, somebody needed to get me out of that house, and nobody was there to do it. Somebody who needed to recognize the sicko in her, and she was in the shadows. She was acting like she was sane when everybody was around, but when she was around the baby, she was doing crazy stuff. Do you understand what I'm saying? And so it's like, look, I'm not going to go in my grave without speaking against this stuff when I see it. I'm not going to let Game think that it's okay for his daughter to do that, because there's people out there who are really sick, bro. I got left in a room with a person like that. You don't want your kids enticing a person like that to come toward them, or enticing a person like that to not stop looking toward children. Fam, you're asking for it. That's what I'm trying to say. It's like, yo, just because the parents got it wrong, and they'd say, oh, just because, well, in my mind, there's certain things I got rolling around in my head. Just say, yo, we could put our kids out there, take a picture. We open-minded. We know our babies ain't going to do nothing. We know they ain't going to be running. It ain't about that. You're an example. Selfish bastards. You are an example. It ain't about whether you got it together and your kids can handle it. No, they're marketing to people who don't have it together. They're marketing to people who kids probably don't have a parent there to protect them from the dangers of Uncle Tom or whatever the hell he's going to be doing. And you sitting up here showing that kid, by way of your kid, how they supposed to act, which ain't right. Which is all it's going to do is attract grown people, sick people. What is a child supposed to be attracting anyway? Children are supposed to be thinking about school. They're supposed to be thinking about growing. They're supposed to be thinking about learning. If they're excited about being on a date or something like that, if they're excited about it, it should be between them and somebody they age. It shouldn't be for my grown ass eyes to see, bro. What am I looking at? You know what I'm saying? Like, what the hell am I looking? Why do I need to see this? Let's just be clear. Why does the world need to see Sean Combs' daughters in skimpy clothes, fam? What's the benefit of that to them? What's the benefit of that to anybody? All y'all doing is stirring the pot for people to have conversations saying we don't like that, and putting people in a position to say things like this. That's it. And then get them sickos going so they can do whatever it is they gonna do and get sicker. Exploit more children. Instead of turning themselves in, getting some damn help. Like we need them to do. Like we need them to want to do. If we're not molding this environment to get them damn sickos to confess, then we're doing it wrong. I don't give a damn what you got to do to get that to be your goal. If y'all behind the curtain ain't doing that, then you're doing the opposite. And I'm assuming you're touching your kids and need to be whatever, bad words, bad thoughts. But I just assume if you're cool with that, then you're doing that. Because that's all it is a bunch of people in the shadows pretending they're not doing something, pretending like they're virtuous and loving people and all that. That's all it is. It's a bunch of people acting like that, but really doing something behind the scenes. So obviously, I expect to see people acting like they're appalled when they're out in the open. That's all I expect to see. Every guilty person is supposed to look like that. Like someone who just absolutely can't. Nah. Actions speak. And when you let your kids do this, you're just telling me who you are. You need to know that. You need to know that. And with that being said, if you're a sicko, you should not have been marketed to like this. You shouldn't have been told it's okay. You should not have been allowed to do this. It was something evil that let that happen. There was something that did not want you to enjoy your life, didn't want the kids to be able to grow up properly. None of that was for anybody's benefit, man. That is evil, chaos, monster building nonsense. That's all that is. So if you're going with that saying, oh, it's harmless, it's not that big a deal, kids can handle it, kids can be grown. No, what you're doing is deteriorating the innocence of the earth. That's what you're doing, one step at a time. You are suggesting that innocence should not exist and that kids should be exploited. And you know what comes with that? All types of other exploitation that's even worse. It doesn't stop with sexuality. It goes into work. It goes into slavery. It goes into torture. It goes into all kinds of stuff. Because that's how ambitious the evil mind is out here. If you're going to give them a little bit, they're going to take all of it. So the suggestion of allowing kids to be left vulnerable or the suggestion of them to be suggested as grown because that's just a new way we're going. I don't know what y'all trying to do. You're trying to lower the drinking age or the driving age or the sex age or whatever. I don't know what it is. But I'm telling y'all right now, y'all playing with forces you shouldn't. If you are going to leave kids vulnerable, if you're going to attack innocence, and if you're going to exploit innocence, you do need to understand that you are welcoming bad things into your home. My name is BDF 44. I thank you all for watching, and I'm out.